Welcome you all for joining Techie Academy today. We welcome you all and we appreciate you all for joining. This webinar is hosted by Techie Academy. I'll be taking you a walkthrough about what Techie is all about, telling you the brain behind Techie, and also introducing our speaker for today, Shalom Oguntolu. So, what do we do at Techie? At Techie, we empower you for the next generation of tech professionals. At Techie, we put you at the forefront of the EdTech revolution. Our mission is clear: to bridge the gap between education and employability in a data-driven, cloud-centric world. Yes, we offer specialization like Microsoft 365 administration, Power Platform, business intelligence BI development, data engineering, analytics engineering, database administration. Our curriculum are crafted by and is extensive by world-burst professionals with 8 years and 10 years of experience and beyond. So we have our Power Platform walkthrough, which the duration is 6 months, and the skills you'll be learning will be Power BI. Under Power BI, you have data visualization and reporting. Power Apps. Under Power Apps, we have custom app development. Power Automate. Under Power Automate, we have cloud flows and robotic process automation. This is not all you'll be learning. There is more to it. And you'll be able to apply to jobs like Power Apps developer, automation specialist, software developer, platform roles like developer, engineer, consultant, and architect, and so lots more. You'll be able to work internationally and locally because we are going to be putting you up for employability. Yes, we'll be training you for employability. We'll be giving you how to build your portfolios and so on and so forth. You'll be able to take certifications like Microsoft Certified Power Platform Fundamentals, PL 900, Microsoft Certified Power Platform Functional Consultant Associate, PL 200. You'll be able to take Microsoft Certified Power BI Data Analyst Associate, PL 300. You'll also be able to take Microsoft Certified Power Platform Developer Associate, PL 400. You'll be able to take Microsoft Certified Power Automate, RPA Developer Associate, PL 500. You'll also be able to take expert level certification, which is the last one, Microsoft Power Platform Solution Architect, PL 600. These badges below are actually the badges you'll be collecting. Once you write one of them, you'll be able to add them to your badges to congratulate you on your achievements. So we have the brain behind Techie. Mr. Gbenga Adeyemo is the brain behind Techie, a senior business data analyst, a Microsoft certified trainer, Power BI Data Analyst Associate, MVP holder. Mr. Gbenga brings over 5 years of valuable work experience and has successfully trained more than 3,000 students in Microsoft technologies. He has worked in healthcare, manufacturing, logistics, and retail, and is also proficient in Microsoft Excel, Power BI, SQL, SSIS, SSAS, Microsoft Fabric, and Power Apps. So you'll be trained by Microsoft certified trainers and also MVPs. Yes, your trainers are Microsoft certified and MVPs. So we have our facilitator for today, Shalom Oguntolu. Shalom, are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you, Ade.
Okay, so I'll be introducing Shalom with us today. Is a Power Platform developer. He'll be taking us how to automate our day with simple tasks that we are meant to that we drag along or we have a lot of duplicates. Yes, he'll be educating us about that today. So Shalom Oguntolu is a result-driven low-code developer with 4 years of hands-on experience in designing, building, and optimizing business applications. Shalom specializes in Microsoft Power Platform, Power Apps, Power Automate, SharePoint, and database, application lifestyle management, UI UX design, data modeling, and security-based practices. He is passionate about digital transformation. Shalom leveraged low-code technologies to reduce development time, streamline workflows, and deliver high-impact business outcomes. We have Shalom Oguntolu with us, a Power Platform developer. Oh yes, this section is recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel very soon. Shalom, are you there?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so this is a free masterclass, and the title is Work Smarter, Not Harder. Automate your day with Power Platform. Over to you, Shalom Oguntolu. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, just once again to greet everyone on the call. All right. I know there are lots of people from different time zones, so I can't particularly say good morning or good afternoon or good evening. All right. So today is basically just to show us how we can automate our day with Power Platform, right? And as business professionals, or maybe you are a student, or you're a business professional, maybe you work in a company, corporate worker. There are lots of manual tasks that you do from time to time in a day, and just to show you how you can save time and save cost, all right, by automating most of these day-to-day activities with Power Platform, most especially Power Automate, right? So I'll be sharing my screen just to take us through the slides I've prepared. This is just automating your day. I mean, Adela has already introduced the myself, so there will be no need for me to introduce myself anymore. All right, I'm just like a Power Platform functional consultant, basically. Have a few certifications to my name, and then I've worked with a few of the companies. I've worked with Crossover, Tech Expertise and Technology, Fidelity Bank, and then as a freelance consultant now, right? So first things first, we have to go over the automation mindset, right? So before even your first step in automating, right, you have to set aside what you want to do. Okay, maybe it's a process of daily time attendance registration, right, where you want to mark different attendance of people. Maybe you have the output in a CSV file, or you have like an Excel file where you manually record all of these tasks and then you upload it somewhere, right? That's like a manual process that you can automate with Power Platform, Power Apps, right? And your time you spend on repetition every day, you do this every day. Maybe when you get to work, you do from 8 to 10, manually, painstakingly imputing all this data, right? And then there is also room for human errors, right? So if it's something that you're constantly imputing, yeah, over time you get familiar with the kind of data, right? Maybe first name, last name, and then date. You'll get familiar with the kind of data, but there will still always be room for errors, right? Unlike when it's being handled by a machine, right? So if you have that automation mindset with you, right, and with Power Platform, you can always have automated workflows, save time invested in strategy, consistent accuracy is being handled by a machine, right? And then you would be able to have all that time you saved, you can focus on high value work, right? So what is Power Platform? Just an introduction into Power Platform. It's just series of software stack developed by Microsoft, right, to enable people develop apps, build workflows, design dashboards and reports, right, in a low code way. Well, that's how it's marketed anyways, a low code way, right? It comprises of like mainly four major products: Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, and Copilot. Although right now there is now Power Pages, which was formerly Power Apps Portal, right? So Power Apps is more of like the application side of things, and in Power Apps you have what's called like a Canvas app. Maybe if you just want to design a very nice UI UI UX compliant app, right? Maybe just an app to take in information or to display information. You use like a Canvas app for that. And then there is a model driven app, and what that one does is that it is strictly for heavy data driven applications. In some instances you have rules such as 100,000 rows, 50,000 rows, 10,000 rows, right, of information. Take for instance, now you want to build an application that deals with daily attendance in like an organization. That's being logged every day. So you have many roles, right? And then with a Canvas app, you can also use a Canvas app for that nonetheless, but then you can start to experience performance issues, and that's where the model driven app comes in, right? And then with Power Automate, it's just to help you automate business processes, right? And for me, it's like my favorite Microsoft Power Platform too. I mean, I like the Power BI, I like Power Apps, and also like the Copilot, formerly Power BI agents, right? But with Power Automate, you can. I'm not trying to say you can do and undo, but there's almost no limits to what you can do with Power Automate within the Microsoft ecosystem. And then there's the Power BI, which is like the business analytics and intelligence part of the Power Platform stack, right? Just to deliver insights and then to visualize data, and and just to display reports. So Copilot now, with all these previous stacks, right? You can integrate Copilot with everything, right? I mean, a lot of us now have maybe the M365 Copilot in our, in our Excel. We also have it like in our as an application, in our desktop, where we can always use like the ChatGPT we all use, right? So with Copilot, you can integrate it with your Power BI, you can integrate it with your Power Automate, you can integrate it with your Power Apps, right? You can even integrate it with your emails, right? So maybe when an email comes in, Copilot can help you like get summary of what that email is about, and maybe insert it into maybe like a Teams channel, right? Or you have like a Teams meeting. When you are done with like a Teams meeting, the Teams meeting is recorded, right? So when you record the Teams meeting, by default, the recording and the transcripts, they are stored in like a OneDrive folder, right? So with Copilot, you can use Copilot to help you like go over what has been said in the meeting, and then to extract the bullet points or like a summary of all what has happened in the meeting, right? So it's a very, very, very powerful tool that Microsoft is really focusing on right now, right? So most of their resources right now is on Copilot, and then Copilot seamlessly integrates into these other three business applications. With Power Apps, you can always integrate Power Automate. I mean, even within and outside the app. With Power BI, you can always integrate like an app, embed it as a tile or whatever. And then with Power Automate, obviously, you can do the same thing with Power BI. But these are like the four major business applications that are within the Power Platform. Like I mentioned, there's also Power Pages, but we'll be seeing all of this later. Just a quick roadmap, right? In our daily grind, every day, day-to-day activities that we do, right? You always have emails coming in and going out, right? And these emails, right? Sometimes you can get lost. Maybe if you are someone that receives over 100 emails every day, right? And yes, there's always the option of low priority emails, medium priority emails, and high priority emails, right? But then that is dependent on the sender, right? So if I'm sending an email to you and then I don't set it as high priority, and then if it's high priority, there's no way for you to know, right? But with Power Automate, right, you can make certain customizations that if this email is from this particular person or from this particular sender, right, make it like a high priority email, and then let me get maybe like the subject or like the body of the email, maybe like in a Teams channel, or I can get it sorted out in maybe like a folder somewhere, right? Or even to my WhatsApp, right? You can even extract the information and then send it to my WhatsApp. Although you'll be doing lots of small customization, maybe with like Twilio and all of that. Right? And then there's the manual data entry and processing. Just like I mentioned before, every time you're always entering data, and then you are processing it with processing data. These are like repetitive tasks that you don't need to spend so much hours on, right? With Power Platform, you can always automate all of that and save your time. And then chasing approvals, let's say you have something that needs to be approved, and then you have to go from the head of department to the chief financial officer, the CFO, and then maybe depending on the value, maybe if it's less than 1 million or if it's greater than 1 million, it also has to get to the MD, and then manually you have to always carry these documents and then meet them to sign and approve. And if they are not in the office, you have to take these documents back, and it can get lost in transit, right? It can get lost in the process, right? But with approvals, Power Automate approvals, right? If you want to even go with the out of the box approvals that Microsoft has created, right? It's seamless. You can set reminders for them, maybe if it's high priority, you can set the reminder to be every hour, right? So the system automatically will be the one chasing them. You don't need to even leave your decks, right? With Power Automate, you can chase these approvals, right? Systematically, right? You can set it in such a way that they can approve from either, like, maybe you have an application, or they can approve from Teams, right? Or they can approve from their email, right? So there are different ways to configure all of this. And then copy and pasting between systems. Maybe you have like a daily log that you have to log, and then from that daily log, you still have to transfer that information into maybe like the general maybe like data system, right? Maybe from the daily system to the maybe like the database that keeps track of all the records, right? Power Automate can do all of that for you, right? So what if you could get your 2 to 3 hours back every day with Power Platform? Let's see how we can do that. So just a quick overview of Power Automate, right? I'll still show us this with my own tenant, my own test tenants, right? So number one is basically the left navigation panel, right? This is like the slide. This is what you see when you go into the website make.powerautomate.com, or maybe if you are a government employee, then it changes to make.hi, right, powerautomate.com. But when you just go straight into make.powerautomate.com, this is the site you see. The left navigation panel just consists of the home tab, create, that's if you want to create flows. And then in Power Automate, the flows are broadly divided into cloud flows and desktop flows. But desktop flows are a whole lot more complicated. With desktop flows, you can simulate whatever you're doing. So let's say every day you come into your computer, and then you'll have to log in. Maybe if you are working in a company, right, that every time you have to log in your break, you have to log in short break, long break, start when you're starting your beginning of your shift, right? And then you have to log in ending of your shift. And in some organizations, they do the thumbprint thing, where you just go to like a machine, and then you thumbprint, and then it marks you that you've signed in. And then in some organizations, you have to do it from your work laptop, right? Like, when you sign in, and then you log your breaks, and then you sign out, right? So with desktop flows, you can simulate all that kind of experiences, like even signing into a website, clicking on buttons, exporting reports, sending emails. Like with a desktop flow, you can do all of that, like almost like an impersonation, right? Yeah. So then we have the cloud flows, and then cloud flows are like basically what uh, uh, as a Power Platform developer, that's what you'll be using every other time, like the cloud flows, and that's broadly divided into like the instant triggers. So instant triggers are, you want it to run immediately. So maybe you have like a response somewhere, or when you click on a button, you want it to run. That's what the instant trigger will do. Then we have scheduled, right? Maybe you are sending out like an email at a particular time every day, or every month, or every year. With scheduled flow, you can do that. And then you have automated. So automated means it is responding to something, right? So maybe when an email arrives, or when a file is created, or when a chat, when you drop a chat in a channel, right? So with automated, you can handle all of that, right? And then we have search. You don't really need to know. This search is just for you to maybe you're searching for like a flow or something, you can search there. And then number 3 is the environment information and settings. So I can just show us my own test environment, so that it's way easier for us to understand. It's just my test environment, so we don't need to worry about anything. So an environment basically is like a house in a compound, right? So there's environment, which is under like a tenant, and then okay, you can have multi-tenants anyways, but then a tenant is like you can take it like as a compound, right, or like a yard, right, and then inside that compound or a yard you can have different buildings, right, and you can take the environment as those buildings, right, and then inside those buildings obviously you have different floors, different rooms and different sections. So in that environment you can have different solutions, different apps, different flows. But then environment exists in the context of a tenant, right? It exists inside a tenant, and then you cannot have one environment in multiple tenants, right? So we don't really need to get into all of that, right? Because it's a bit complex, but it's still pretty much straightforward, right? And then we have Copilot, but you don't necessarily need to get into this now. At least you need to understand the basics first before using Copilot. But with Copilot, you can ask it to create maybe whatever kind of flow you want to create. So you can say, I want to maybe send an email when an incoming email contains a particular subject. And it's not a finished product yet. It's something that Microsoft is constantly improving, right? But with this Copilot, right, you see it has like generated like the email for me when a new email arrives, condition of the flow, and then true. So you can just choose to go with this and then modify the flow later on. But for now, we are not going into all of that. So like I mentioned before, you have like the automated cloud flow, you have the instant cloud flow, and then you have the scheduled cloud flow. But you don't necessarily need to know all of this yet. It's something that over with time, you with constant practice, with constant learning, you would obviously get accustomed to, right? And then we have templates. So these templates, they are like Microsoft approved templates, right, that you can use instead of creating those flows from the scratch, right? And a lot of them are built by Microsoft themselves, and then some of them are built by approved solution providers from Microsoft. So if you can see this, keep my school work in sync with Google Drive, right? So this one is just syncing with your Google Drive and then with Outlook, right? So like okay, OneDrive for business and then your Google Drive, right? So you can always sign into your Google Drive, and then obviously it's signed in already for my OneDrive for business, right? And then you can use this to maybe when you add a folder to your Google Drive, or when you add a folder to your OneDrive or SharePoint, right? You want those files to be replicated in your Google Drive. So take for instance, you're working on your well, I'm not recommending this, but like I'm just giving an example. You're working on your work laptop, right? And in many cases, you cannot export. Maybe you cannot export those files into your own personal, maybe like a flash drive or something to copy out those files. And you want it to constantly be in sync. That once I drop in this file in my OneDrive, when I'm out of my company's laptop and I'm in my own personal system with my OneDrive, I can constantly, I can always see maybe like an Excel workbook and then continue working on that Excel workbook, right? In most cases, you might not be able to sign in your company's OneDrive or your company's accounts into your own personal laptop. They might have blocked it to their endpoints, right? And then with this flow, right, it's just like a simple flow. It will keep that file in sync, right? So whatever you create in your OneDrive is also your SharePoint, right? It could be any of the triggers. It's also going to create it in your OneDrive, right? And we have whole lots of templates here that Microsoft has created for us, right? So, but if you don't understand the basics of this Power Automate, it might be hard for you wraps it. So for a start, we are just going to create like a very simple email, a very simple flow, and that flow we can call it flow to save attachment to my folder. So what does this flow do? So maybe you are sending you are in there's a situation where maybe people send you lots of emails. Maybe those emails, they might contain maybe like PDF files, they might be PNG or JPG image, and it could be Microsoft Word, it could be Excel, you know, any kind of file format, and then they send it as an attachment, and then you don't want to manually go and be, you know, downloading the attachment and then saving it in the particular place you want to save it. With this flow, it's going to save you the stress, right? You can create the condition where if it's from this particular person, right? If it's not from this particular person, I don't want this flow to make that rules. I don't want that folder to be populated. I only want that folder to contain very important things, right? So you just look for the trigger, and that trigger is obviously going to be your Outlook, your Outlook 365, right? So you can say when an email is flagged. We don't need all of these. When it arrives in a shared mailbox, maybe if you're using it in a shared mailbox, but the most stable trigger that we can use in this situation is this Office 365 Outlook, since it's not like a personal account. So if it's a personal account, right, you can use this outlook.com when an email arrives. But if it's like not a personal account, you have to use this when a new email arrives, so that it saves you lots of stress. And then when you this is like the whole template here that we are going to see, right? So Microsoft has modernized this. This is not the way it used to be before, and you can always change that from this URL here where it says equals to true. You can just change that to false, or you can toggle this off here and then switch it to false, right? So whatever display you like, you can use. What these days they are trying to force the new designer on us, so we can just go with that, right? It looks more like the modern style now, the modern automation platform like Edit and Make. This is like the format that it is in. So when a new email arrives, so you want to configure all the parameters. So you want to say when the email arrives from who. So for this, just as a test, I would say when it arrives from myself, which is my Gmail, right? Anybody else, if you want to volunteer your like your email, you can volunteer, and thus I'll give you I can give you the email address of this particular account, right? And then you can send an email there. So you can configure all of this, right? So the importance, right? You can see if the email is coming with high importance, if it's coming with low, if it's coming with normal, right? You can configure it, and then you can look for it to look for in the subject line. So maybe you want to define particular something in particular in the subject line. You only want this flow to trigger when the subject is maybe employee details, right? You only want the flow to trigger when it has this employee details, and then include attachments, yes or no, and only with attachments. If only the file contains attachment, right? That's when it should run. And then if it can also run if it contains someone in the CC. It might not necessarily be from the person. It could be to the person. It could be from the person. It could be if the person is in the CC, right? And then we can just close this. And then when the new email arrives, what do we even want it to do? So is it that when the email arrives, we just want to get the subject and then post it to a Teams chat, or we want to get the subject and extract the attachments, right? And then when we get the attachment, we want to save it somewhere. So we can say when a new email arrives, so we can do what's called get attachments. So we can do what is called get attachment. Before this get attachment, we can always do what is called like a condition. So maybe you don't want the flow to run, or you don't want to save files that are PDF. You only want to save files that are either Excel or in the Word format, right? And this is coming from like maybe like a report from your boss or like a report from someone important, right? But for just this first example, we are going to do both the message ID and then the attachment, and just for all forms of attachments, right? And then we can see the message ID might be a bit confusing, right? But you just try to uh, look at what is like tallies with this input they're asking you of. So if you can see, they're asking you for what is the message ID. So the message ID is like the unique identifier of the message, right? So you just input that there, and then the attachment ID too. So they're asking you what the attachment ID is, right? So with the attachment ID, the flow knows what to download or what to get, right? So with that attachment ID, you can always look for it here. It might not really display at first here, so you just try to look for the attachment ID, and this is like the attachment ID, right? So sometimes they can ask you for attachment content, right? And then you have to use the attachment content. And then attachment content is like basically like the content of the attachment, right? So you don't need all these ones. You don't really need all the advanced parameters for now. This is just like a test, right? And then this has automatically created a for each for me. And this for each is basically in the case of email contains 2, 3, 4, 5 attachments. So for each of those attachments, what do you want to do for each of those attachments? So we want to get each of those attachments and want to do what is called a create file action. So we want to store the attachment somewhere. So you can either create it in OneDrive for business, or you can create it in SharePoint. And then SharePoint is like the I don't want to say the number one document management system that people use worldwide, right? But SharePoint is pretty much popular, right? And it's what people use for document management. And maybe if you're in the document handling department, or you're in the document control department, right? I'm pretty much sure you'll be very much familiar with SharePoint, or in the case of where you use maybe like smart sheets, right? You can always use smart sheets with Power Platform. So I have like my test site here, and then I won't have where I want to create it in. So obviously I must have created this in SharePoint. I must have gone to SharePoint here, or gone to my personal OneDrive here, and then created these files there. But for this purpose of this demo, we'll just have this ABC project site, and then inside this document, this is like the document library, and then we have these folders, different folders here, right? You can always create a new document library, but this is like the default one. So I have what's called like a new stuff folder here, right? And it contains different obviously it contains other files here. If you can see, this is like an Excel sheet, then this is like a PDF, right? And then the folder part, so I have to look at this. So here, when I came into the site ABC project, I looked at documents, which is like the document library, and then there's this folder called new stuff. So Power Automate obviously gives me something like that. Obviously here you see that shared document, but you just click on that, and then you see new stuff. See raw data, you see new stuff, and then you select new stuff, and then you see file name. The file name, you can either use the file name of the get attachment. It's basically the same thing, but you can just use that. And then the file content. The file content is like the content of the file, right? So content of the attachment. You can here, if I want to change it from PDF and I want to change it to Word, I just add maybe I want to change it to PDF, I can just add just PDF. If I want to change it to like Excel format, I can just change it here. But one thing you need to know that if it's not in the same format, it's going to break, right? It will throw when you try to open it, maybe like in Excel, or you change it to .csv and you try to open it, it's going to break. It's going to tell you that this document is not valid. So sometimes it's just good to just leave it the way it is, right? And then with these 3 easy steps, that's not taking me anything more than 2-3 minutes to build. What I would have is a condition where when an email arrives from a particular person with this particular subject line, employee details, if it's coming with anything different, it's not going to affect or create those files. It has to come with this particular subject details. And what I will do is that I'll get the attachment and then I'll create the file, right? So I'll just go ahead now and save the flow, and then I'll carry out a test. Save the flow, so I can either say I want to test it manually, right? Or okay, I see Joshua, you have questions, right? Then we can take the question before testing. Or
Okay.
while we test.
Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Sorry, you said so where the subject was indicated, the subject had to indicate employment details, right? So I
Yeah.
didn't really see where that was. That's like the second step, right? Or something
No.
like
Is the first step. Is the first step in the parameter
that. Like
section.
when, that's what I'm saying. The parameter when email arrives, but
Yeah.
it has to do it. So I didn't see where it was indicated. That I was trying to like look around the screen. Could you point that out, please?
Okay, so I've just highlighted it here. It's on the bottom left hand side. So if you can see the subject filter, if you can see the employee details, or we can just remove it for now. We could just remove it for now and then
I've seen that.
Yeah, we could
Subject
just remove it
filter.
for now and then. Yeah, so this subject filter is basically
okay. The screen was kind of small, so I had to like zoom in. Maybe that was why I couldn't see it, but I can see that now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay. If there are no more questions for now, I can just minimize this. I can just try to shoot an email from my own Gmail to this particular email address. And then here I can see employee details, and then see this is just a demo, and then try to attach the file here. So I can attach anything. I can attach the presentation deck I have already. Then I send. Okay, so it's one of the issues we in the IT department, right, experience, right? So there's something called shadow IT. So in without proper administration, without proper Power Platform administration, you can have something like a shadow IT. So what that means is that maybe in like an environment, maybe the HR environment that you've created for them, or the finance environment, and then because it's so easy to learn how to build and create flows, you can have a situation where everybody just comes and then they create different flows in that environment. So like in an environment, you can be seeing up to like 200 flows, 300 flows, and that are always eating into your request limit, and they just create them like that without much without much consequences, right? And which is what you want. You want people to adopt this system, since you are paying for those licenses already with your maybe like Office license, maybe E1, E3, or E5 licenses, right? And you have to administer this very well. You have to block certain connections. You have to block certain IPs and URLs, right? But that's in a much later advanced stage. So this was the email I sent. So this is the flow we created. Flow to save attachments to my folder, just like a simple flow. And then this is the flow run. So if you have multiple flow runs, you can always come here to see the 28 their run history, right? So if it fails, right, you see it here. If it's still running, you see it here. So you can just click here to just see the how the flow performed and the actions carried out. So it says when a new email arrives. So if you click on it here, sorry, it's just taking some time to load. Yeah, it's taking some time. Have the for each, right? So get attachments, create file, right? And this is just like a very basic for each. If you see it came from my Gmail, shalomogutoli@gmail.com. You see it carries the start time, the end time, and then we can just go into this folder here, and then you can see it here. Presentation deck is what I just attached into the email, and then I sent it out. But then this is for in a situation where it only contains one attachment, right? So let me do in a situation where the flow carries about 3 attachments and see if it's able to handle this. This is a test email, and then I can do that also here, and then just attach those files. So for this particular one right now, we are doing for PTX, which is just like a PowerPoint file format. So we can do for PowerPoint, PDF, and maybe like Excel, and see if it's going to create for the 3 of them. So PowerPoint, PDF, and maybe like a picture, PNG format. And let's see. I'm just going to trigger that now. And just show you. And just show you my email. So you see how I'm doing it here. So I'm just sending out. Sorry, let me just minimize it. I'm just sending, this is a test email. You can make anything inside the body of the email. Hello. Maybe obviously the email can contain different things, and then I've just loaded these 3 attachments, and then I've just sent it out. Right. So let us see if the flow is able to carry out the task, right? I always see, actually want it to show when it is running. Thanks, time. Okay, while we wait for the email to drop, right? There are other aspects of flows that we can consider. So this is just basically like I've just shown us what is like an instant cloud flow, right? So we can do something more on I've just shown us something like on an automated cloud flow. So we can do something like an instant cloud flow. So what can this instant cloud flow do? It is on demand, right? So you might have a situation where you might not always be in the office, right? Maybe like I mentioned before, you might want to be able to log in your attendance, and then you can use this manual trigger cloud flow to call it desktop flow. With the desktop flow, I explained that you can use it to simulate different actions, right? So with this manual trigger flow, you can use it to call it desktop flow. You can use it to trigger actions on demand, even from your phone, right? So you can install Power Automate Mobile on your phone, and then when you click on this button on the flow run, just click on it, runs. The flow runs, and then it performs actions you want to do. Maybe it's to send out the report at a particular time, and then maybe due to the traffic, maybe in Lagos or anywhere, right, that you are in, you are figuring out that, okay, my boss wants this report every day at 8 a.m. But in the situation where I'm not at the office on my work laptop at 8 a.m., how do I do this, right? So you can create a flow, right, that goes into maybe like a document library or a SharePoint folder or your OneDrive or your Google Drive itself, right? And then picks out the file and then sends the email out every day, every particular day. If you want it to run every time by like 8 a.m., then you make it a scheduled cloud flow. If you want it to run on demand, right? Maybe it's not every day he wants it. He just wants it when he requests for it. You can make it a manually triggered flow. You just go in there and just click on the flow button, and then it runs, and then it sends out this report, right? And then for the other one, which is like the automated, it's triggered by when an action is performed, right? Or when a condition is met. You can also configure the trigger actions, but that's a much more complex topic, right? So for this manually triggered cloud flow, we can create a condition here. I have a lot of lists here that I've created. So this is just like a simple SharePoint list that contains name of project, summary of project, team members, tags, start date, end date, project, team, body choice, just random data. And this with SharePoint, obviously, it's not something that we might want to touch in for long, right? But with SharePoint, right, you have like the different ways of creating columns and all of that. Okay, sorry, I've already eaten deep into our time. I mean, in Power Platform, there's so much that you can do with Power Platform. We might not be able to cover everything, right? But with Power Platform, there's so much you can do with Power Platform. This is just overview of Power Automate, what it can do, 247. It works 247 without breaks. And then if it's going to fail, right, maybe your flow is throttling or you're hitting like a limit or there's an error in your flow, you can configure what is called like error handling, right? So maybe if the flow fails, it can send a chat on like a Teams channel, right? Or if you are very, very advanced with Power Automate, you can use HTTP response to like respond to a Teams or send a Teams message, right? Or you can send out an email that, hey, this flow has failed, and then you can input a link that takes you back to the original flow, and then when you just click on that link, you just see what is failed, you fix it, resubmit the flow, and then the flow continues doing its thing. And then you have over 500 connectors available. It connects with your Office 365, SharePoint, Teams, Salesforce, Twitter, Slack, Instagram, right? So with Twitter, right, previously it was free API. Obviously we know about the whole Elon Musk takeover, but like right now Twitter, it's no longer free, right? So but with other connectors like Salesforce, Slack, Google Drive. Those ones, they're like free. And then you can create custom API. Maybe you have like your own company inbuilt API, maybe like Xerox or your payroll, HR, internal payroll HR systems, or maybe even if you're using HR systems like Deal and all of that, right? You can use those APIs to speak with Power Automate and to speak with your database, right? So this is just like a quick win. We just did something similar. When a new email arrives, check sender/subject. If you want to move the file to like a different folder, save the attachment, and then you can also send an email to yourself or to someone else if it is very urgent. Another way you can do it is from a form, right? I can just show us that example. So I'm running out of time already. Since I'm running out of time already, an example of this flow that can respond to an email or to like a form, Microsoft form submission, right? It validates the data, it gets the data from the form, and then add it into like your Excel or your SharePoint or whatever worksheet. People use Excel, people use Google Worksheets or whatever database you are using, and then you can send out an email notification. Right, I would have shown us more examples, and it's something that I can export the flow, and if you want, I can send it to you after this class. So we also have Power Apps. Power Apps is also one of the stacks, like I mentioned in Power Platform, right? And the good thing about Power Apps, like the great thing about Power Apps, is that you don't need much coding to use it, right? You can connect it to your existing data sources. You can create it for like your mobile, your tablet, or your PC, depending on the size. You can make it very, very responsive, and then it is a quick win. If you are familiar with normal custom application development, maybe with like C#, C++, JavaScript, TypeScript, and all of that. If you are going to build like a website, even if you have already made HTML and CSS, it's going to take quite a while, months, and sometimes even years, right? Like maybe you're building like a client portal or anything, or you're just building like a simple application. It takes a lot of time. But with Power Apps, it's like quick win, right? Under like a day, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, you build like an application that can be used organizational wide, and you use that to collect personal improvement points in your organization, right? You can connect to SQL or SQL, whatever you call it. You can connect to Excel spreadsheet and connect to SharePoint list, right? From idea to app in hours, not months. So your action plan, what you can do, right, is to just download Power Automate mobile app and just explore the different templates, right? Identify 3 repetitive tasks that consume your time daily. Maybe if it is sending a particular report at a particular time, responding to emails like that you already have, but that's a bit advanced. But you can just start with the basics, like extracting like a report, sending out a report at a particular time. Those time consuming things you do from maybe like 8 a.m. to like 10 a.m. You just identify all of that, and then you create your automations. Right, you can start with your email organization, and then you can build like a simple Power Apps or advanced workflow. So what are the requirements? Basically, you just need like a good network, a valid Office 365 account, and then discipline and determination. Because obviously your flows are going to fail. Obviously, if you are going to create your first few flows are going to fail, your first few apps are going to be ugly. You might not like them, but with consistent practice and determination, right, you'll be able to overcome all of this, right? So I would also be sharing a few resources that you can use to learn, right? So these are like documentations, external Microsoft documentations you can use, and then YouTube tutorials by a few of the Power Platform goats, Reza Durrani and Shane Young, right? That is all. I would to leave you before I leave you, I will just share you a couple of applications that you can build with Power Platform. It's not always going to look ugly. You can define it wherever and however you like it. Design those applications to be very, 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 very beautiful looking. So an example is this wellness wave application. It's just like the gym application that I built. It's just going to be coming up now. So before I show that, if that's going to take a while. So an example here is this application here. This is just like a simple application that I can build, right? This one is just an application that navigates different areas. You can see it's displaying certain reports, and maybe if you don't want to pay for extra Power BI licenses for your full organization, right? You can actually create these custom charts in Power Apps, just to display this. You can, switch it between the light mode and dark mode. Just make it, design the application anyhow you want, right? Make it more beautiful than this. But this is just like an example of how your Power Apps can make you a better employee in your organization, and save your time, right, in the organization, right, and save your time and allow you to use that time to create more important things for your organization. So this is just an example of like a wellness wave application I built. You can do different things with it. You can have this timer here that changes images every 1 second or 2 seconds. Just change the idea of maybe like the colors and different things, and then you log goals, log workouts, just different things in your application that you can build, right? There are whole lots of applications that have been built with people, right? Anything you can think of, almost anything rather, that you can think of that you're using in maybe like your HTML, your CSS. You can even use HTML functions in Power Apps. You can use CSS functions in Power Apps. You can use to an extent, if you are more developed, you can use React, right? But the native application, the native programming language that Power Apps uses is PowerFX. So if you're already familiar with Excel, it's not going to be so much of a deal breaker for you to learn Power Apps. It's simple, much simply straightforward, right? Here, if you just insert a button, you are seeing the button in real time. You don't need to do any console log. You don't need to do anything. If you insert the button here, you're seeing it in real time. And then when you play the app, the button is there, So it's like super easy to use. Even if you are like a pro code person, like someone that knows how to code, with Power Platform, you can take your game, right, to a much more higher grade, right? So yeah, I've come to the end of this class, right? I know you have lots and lots of tons of questions, so I'll be taking them. And if you still feel like maybe if it's something that you want to go back and prepare and then send, you can always shoot me an email or send me a LinkedIn chat. I'll be glad to respond and to clear out whatever questions you have. But if there are no questions, this would be the end of my my class. So thank you.